Hello, Spartan parents. My name is Mrs. Beagan, and I am the 7th grade language arts teacher. I teach both regular and advanced language arts, and this is actually going to be my first full year at Campbell. I first came to the school in January of last year, and I was here for about 3 months before, of course, we all had to go into quarantine. So I'm excited that this is going to be my first full year with the students. Just a little bit of background about myself. I graduated in 2015 from USF with degrees in English and Spanish. My concentration in English was creative writing, so I love writing, I love reading uh, just as much, maybe even a little bit more, and I am really excited to be able to teach these students everything I know about writing and get them to be as good of writers as possible until they get to 8th grade, and then they'll get even better next year. So this is my syllabus. My goal in this course this year is to enhance and develop skills and concepts in the areas of writing, reading, grammar, and communication. Students will achieve this through writing argumentative and informative essays and learning how to support their claims with clear reasons and relevant evidence. So this is a language arts class, so writing is always going to be a focus, but we are really trying to get the students to just improve or perfect their grammar, improve or perfect their sentence structure, learn how an essay is supposed to be structured, for laying the foundation for things that they are going to have to do in high school. So we might as well get them prepped as early as possible. This entire syllabus is available on Microsoft Teams. I also have a very short video on how to find all of my assignments and class information on Microsoft Teams. It's a separate video, but if you're interested in watching that, I have attached that right after this video. So I'm not going to go over every single section, but I do want to touch on my absent and missing work policies. If a student is absent, it is their responsibility to get with me about any work that they are missing. I have physical copies of everything that I do in class for my in-person students, and then I have virtual copies of that on Microsoft Teams for the Volusia Live students. So every single thing that we go over, whether it's PowerPoint presentations or handouts, their daily assignments, of course, all of that is on Microsoft Teams, or I have physical copies of that in the classroom. I am trying to teach the students to be accountable for themselves and their grades. So again, I will be more than happy to get the student anything they need as long as they come to me and say, Mrs. Beagan, I was absent yesterday or whenever, and I need to know what I missed. Same thing with missing work. Students do not have the option to not do work in class, so there's no sleeping in class, but by that I also mean that I always give the students plenty of time in class to complete their assignments. I don't give homework unless the student was absent and needs to make something up, but besides that, I never assign homework. Everything that we do in class, we do either together, or I might explain the assignment, do a little bit of it with them, and then they are free on their own to complete the work. But they always have plenty of time to complete their work. And again, if they don't complete the work, then, or if they're missing, then they can go onto Teams and get that and ask me any follow-up questions if they need a concept explained or anything like that. I am always more than happy to help explain anything that they're having questions about, especially if they schedule a meeting with me in advance. Then we can meet either through Teams or at lunch or before school, and we can I can sit with the student and give them the attention they deserve to get to the root of whatever issue they might be having in the class. The other thing I wanted to mention was my contact information. So my phone number on Microsoft Teams is 386-258-4661, extension 75614. So if you call that number and that extension, it will go through to my Microsoft Teams. My email address is sabeagan, B-E-A-G-A-N, at volusia.k12.fl.us. Email is usually the fastest way to reach me. I do apologize. Sometimes the school likes to, or the district email server, whatever is controlling the forces that be that control my email, like to put in unrecognized email addresses into my other or junk folder. So I apologize if it takes me a few days to get back to you, but I do get back to everyone as quickly as I possibly can. All right, so my next slide is about my grading policy. The things that I really want to touch on with my grading policy is that students always have an opportunity to resubmit work or retake a test that they have done in class for a higher grade. There are some exceptions with tests. District tests, certain district tests or state tests, of course, are not allowed to be retaken or remediated. But if it is a daily assignment, if it is a quiz, I always give the students opportunity to remediate their work. And I don't take any points off for late work either. So they can turn in their work whenever, and I will grade it and give it full points if that's what their work reflects. I do obviously encourage students to not do their work and wait until the last week of school, because then you're faced with a mountain of work versus just going along with the class at our pace and doing everything as we do it as a class. If students score below an 80% on a summative, then they will be required to retest, as long as it's not a district or state test. And I always leave comments on my students' work, especially with the Volusia Live students. Every time Microsoft Teams gives you an option to write comments when you are grading, and so it goes, the comments go along with their grade that they receive. And if they're missing something, I will write what they're missing. Sometimes a student will submit a blank assignment, in which case I just write not completed and send that back. But again, if they ever have any questions, they are free to call or email me. I'll answer those questions, help as best as I can, and then they can go back and remediate anything that they might need to fix on their papers. The one thing that I want to stress I cannot help with are tech issues. Unfortunately, I am not at all qualified, besides suggesting to restart their computer or to click out of the browser and go back in. But besides that, I don't really know too much about the technical issues with Microsoft Teams. However, there is a tech hotline. I have given the students the phone number to that hotline, and in my Microsoft Teams video, I will also give the phone number to that hotline. So if students are ever having a major issue where they absolutely can't access very important things like their assignments or email, things like that, then they can call that tech hotline, and that hotline exists to help students with exactly those kind of issues. Worst case scenario, we can get the student a new computer if that's what they need. So they have several resources available to them for that. My discipline policy, it sort of goes along with, I think, the general discipline policy of the school. Any minor first offenses like disruptive behavior in class, horseplay, talking back, I will talk to the student, correct the behavior in class, or I might take them aside one-on-one and see, what's going on or what we can do to get their behavior back on track. If there's repeated offenses, then I will usually contact, or not usually, I do contact the parent and try to establish a line of communication there so that we can work towards a solution. For the third offense, so by third offense, I believe in starting fresh with the students every day. So even if we have a bad day on a Monday, Tuesday comes around and it's clean slate. So by first, second, and third offenses, I really just mean patterns of disruptive behavior, like just every single day or multiple times a week with horseplay or just having to correct their behavior or talking back, things like that. So if there's a pattern of that, then eventually, or if they're having an especially bad day, the student will be sent out of my classroom to either another teacher's room or down to their grade house office in the same building, where they can just cool off and collect themselves and come back to class to work. And then any just very serious patterns of poor behavior or serious offenses like fighting or cursing at a teacher or something like that, then students would be sent to their administrator's office, and the consequences would be a possible referral or some kind of suspension, depending on the severity of the offense. And lastly, these are just some important dates. These students just completed their first assessment of standards, which was a reading comprehension assessment. They had to read a passage and answer 6 questions, and that was used in my grade book as a diagnostic grade because it was just trying to assess what standards they learned last year. Coming up at the end of the month is their first district assessment. And then again in the beginning of November, they'll have or the middle of November, they'll have their first writing exam, which is the Volusia Literacy Test. They'll have to write another essay, and actually that's their second writing exam because the first was their diagnostic baseline assessment. So all of these are just windows for testing. They're not actually going to be testing every single one of these days, but these are general dates for their important tests. And then, of course, we have the FSA writing and reading exams in April and May. Okay, and I think that is everything that I want to cover as far as my class goes. If you have any questions or concerns, please email me or call me on Microsoft Teams. I'd be more than happy to talk to you all. And again, we've been having a great year so far. I haven't had any serious behavior issues or the few students that are a little behind in their work. I think we're trying to get back on track with that. So I've got a pretty happy report to give all of you so far this year. So fingers crossed that we can just continue that trend. All right, well, thank you for watching my video. Again, I have a short video explaining my Microsoft Teams group if anyone is interested in watching that. And you all have a great night. Thanks for watching.